Good Saturday morning, everybody. Rise and shine. It's a CFP Saturday. We're here, December 20th. The first round is underway. We got kicked off last night as Oklahoma threw it all up last night after going 17-0. We watched it live with our peeps over on Patreon. The Patreon peeps. It was a lot of fun hanging out, watching some football. I think 9 or 10 different people jumped on the video at some point. We had 20 different people in the chat hanging out over on Patreon, talking it up, watching the games as Oklahoma gets things kicked off with a 17-point turnaround after going up 17-0. Just throwing it all back up to the Crimson Tide. Apparently, things are on fire in the cesspool known as Ann Arbor. One of two of their, I guess you could say, most desired candidates basically just signed his name to saying, no, thank you. This morning, happened this morning. Early this morning, it was being reported, and so we're going to talk about that. Where do they go from here? Why is this such a big deal to them? Why, personally, I feel he was the number one candidate I was most worried about as an Ohio State fan. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about today's games in the CFP. What are the odds, the spread, etc.? What do we think is going to happen? We'll talk about last night's game before we do that as well. And of course, we're going to talk about Ohio State news, and that's where we're going to begin this morning's program. Make sure you hit the thumbs up this morning, everybody. Love to see an active chat. The more active the chat is, the better this Saturday morning show is. Good morning, T. Good morning, Buck Vader. RDCB in the house. Good to see you as well. Lenny Zabo. Good to have you this morning with us, my friend. Trent. Didn't Dillingham just sign an extension? And did? Indeed, he did. He do. He's going to stay right where he is. So good to see you this morning as well. Ohio State 92, good Saturday morning to you. Good to have you up with us this morning. RK Mangoes, what's up, Rocky? Top of the morning to you, fella. Good to have you with us. Mean Green, good morning, Podfather. What did you think about Alabama's comeback last night, and how do you see the Tide versus Indiana in the Rose Bowl? Great question. We're going to cover that later in the show. And Mangoes, on the seventh day, God created Ohio State University. Yes, indeed he did. All right, an Arizona State University fan here with us. I hope UM never wins another game against OSU. Thank you. We can agree on that, and congratulations on signing the best young up-and-coming coach in college football to an extension in Kenny Dillingham. Congratulations. You should be thrilled about that. You should absolutely be thrilled about that. He is a dude. He is an absolute dude. In my opinion, and I know I'm going to jump the gun and get a little bit ahead of myself in the program here this morning as we welcome in more people joining us this morning. 60 of you already. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. The only team in the Big 12, in my opinion, who has the resources, the gumption, the vision to give Texas Tech a challenge with their NIL resources and recruiting pool and facilities is Arizona State. They're the only one, in my opinion. That program is just running away with things this morning in the Big 12. All right, let's dive into it. Let's start with Ohio State news first. We'll get to Dillingham second, and then we'll talk CFP to wrap up this show for everybody. Congratulations to Caleb Downs, one of 3 Buckeyes who was named a unanimous All-American. What that means is there are, I believe, 6, it's either 5 or 6 news agencies that are allowed to name first, second, third team All-Americans, freshman All-Americans, etc. And when they do that, it is counted differently than, say, if a podcast or your Joe Schmo newspaper were to create an All-American list. Okay, I think it's 5 or 6. What unanimous means is you were first team All-American on every single one of those credited sources. Sporting News, AP, the Football Coaches Writers Association. Um, there's like 2 more. Is it Athlon Sports maybe? I think it's 5. Anyways, what unanimous means is you were number 1 on all of those lists. Caleb Downs becomes the 6th Buckeye ever in the history of Ohio State football, the 6th one ever to be named a 2-time unanimous All-American. Did it last year, does it again this year. Tip of the hat to Caleb Downs for being named a unanimous All-American. Joining him on that list as a unanimous All-American for the first time, although he was a freshman All-American last year, different than a unanimous first-team All-American, is one Jeremiah Smith, who became the 2nd wide receiver in Ohio State history to be named a unanimous All-American. Chat, without looking it up, who can tell me who the other wide receiver is in Ohio State history to be named unanimous All-American? Throw your answer in the chat for me. If you're watching this after the fact, give me your answer down in the comment section below. But Jeremiah Smith was the 2nd wide receiver ever to be named a unanimous All-American. Mango says David Boston. No, incorrect, but great guess. That's a phenomenal guess. No. T says David Boston. Also, no. He was not a unanimous All-American, believe it or not. Chris Carter or MHJ, says TG. You got one of the 2 right. It was MHJ. Marvin Harrison Jr. was the other wide receiver to be a unanimous All-American. Also, there was a 3rd Buckeye to be named a unanimous All-American. And for the first time ever in Ohio State football history, 3 Buckeyes on the same team were named unanimous All-Americans. It had never happened ever before in Ohio State football history. Caden McDonald was a unanimous All-American this year, joining Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. He was also the 2nd ever defensive tackle in Ohio State history to be named a unanimous All-American. There was one other one. Now, this one I don't expect any of you guys to get. I had no clue on this one. Jim Stillwagon. Jim Stillwagon was a unanimous All-American back in, I believe, in 1968. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was 1968. Jim Stillwagon was a unanimous All-American. Caden McDonald, dude, it's been over 50, 56, 57 years since someone's been named a unanimous All-American defensive tackle at Ohio State. Ended a drought of over half a century. My gosh. Hats off to Caden McDonald, man. Who would have known, right? That is fantastic. Mac Davis, I'm the biggest OSU fan residing in the dump known as Michigan. Good morning. Excited about this year's CFP. Mac, hang around here in just a little bit. We're going to have some breaking news, massive news about the cesspool known as Ann Arbor in your state, man. Uh, Big news coming out of there this morning. But Caden McDonald becomes the third unanimous All-American in this season. No other team in Ohio State history has ever had three. This year's team had three. Second defensive tackle to do it. Shout out K-Mac. Wonderful job this year, my man. Let's have a great CFP run, shall we? Let's do that, man. So those were the three guys that were unanimous All-Americans, and we wanted to give them a little bit of love and talk a little bit about them as well this morning. So shout out to all of those guys. So yesterday was a big day in Ohio State when it came to recruiting. Um, we had a linebacker from North Carolina commit to the Buckeyes. We were live yesterday afternoon when he made that decision. Of course, we're talking about one Quentin Cipher, 6'2", 220-pound linebacker from Millbrook High School in Raleigh, North Carolina. Ranked 151st nationally in the 247 rankings, 168th on the On3. We'll be doing a junior highlight film review on him over on our Patreon page. And when we do, we will be giving him a new Ohio pod score and giving him a ranking in the class. My Buckeye comparison for Quentin is Bobby Carpenter. Bobby Carpenter was actually coming out of a high school exactly 6'2", I think 220, 225, somewhere around there. Plays very similar to how Quentin plays. Mika's recruiting breakdown of Quentin. She says he's a linebacker / tight end who is a very twitchy athlete, tackling machine with the ability to blitz off the edge. Covers wide receivers of all sizes well. Disruptive in the run game and has a physical style that forces turnovers. Also used as a running back on occasions. Love his tenacity on the field. I think he's a guy that could contribute early on special teams. Also, Quentin is a state champion. So nice to have another North Carolina recruit committing to Ohio State. And dude, shout out to the little animal, man. James Laurinaitis is building his room very similarly to the way that Brian Hartline built the wide receiver room when he took over for Zach Smith as the wide receiver coach at Ohio State. He is building it in his image, in his likeness. He's taking guys who he knows have incredible athletic ability. He's taking quote unquote football dudes, right? Turning them into first round draft picks. I believe that both Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles are first round linebacker talent in this class. There are some people saying Arvell Reese could be the number one pick in this draft, depending on team needs. Definitely a top 5 pick. I think Sonny Styles is a first round draft pick as well. And keep in mind, he had to go to Ryan Day and convince Ryan Day that those guys needed to change positions. Don't forget, Arvell Reese came in as an edge rusher, and Sonny Styles was playing safety. He was starting safety in the Jim Knowles defense back in 2023 as a sophomore. And Laurinaitis was able to convince Ryan Day to basically tell Jim Knowles he's going to be a linebacker. He's got a linebacker body, and we need to make sure that we get him enough playing time back in 2023 at linebacker so that during his senior season at 2024, the dude would be ready for the kind of year he's having, right? Ended up leading the team, like he was second on the team in tackles last year as a junior, his first year at linebacker. And look what he did this year, man. Absolute awesome season. Was a first team All-American by one of the reporting services, so he will have a Buckeye tree in Buckeye Grove. So same with Arvell Reese. He was a first team All-American. He was a consensus, not an he was a consensus, which means it was more than one, but not a unanimous, which means it was all of them. So shout out to Arvell as well. He'll have a tree, Buckeye tree in Buckeye Grove as well now for his first team All-American status. But both linebackers are first round, first day NFL draft talent. And that's because James Laurinaitis is able to see the talent and then mold the talent. And so when James says, I want someone like a Quentin Cipher, sign me up. I don't I don't even need to see anything, man. I mean, that's how much faith we should be having. Um, that's the kind of faith we need to have in James Laurinaitis. Let's take a couple quick comments this morning. Tyler says Sonny and Arvell are also both getting Buckeyes and trees in Buckeye Grove. Yep, indeed they are, man. Indeed they are. And let's see here. Colonel Ingus 69 Knowles will do good there. Just need to hold teams under 40. Talking about Tennessee. Just hold teams to under 40 points, huh? Oh man. I think Knowles in Tennessee is like oil and water. It is not gonna mix, man. I'm trying to tell Tennessee fans this. Tennessee fans are not listening to me. They are arguing with me on every step of the way. They think that they've got God's gift to defenses in Jim Knowles, and I'm trying to tell them, get ready. You're not going to be satisfied in year one. It's going to take a while. The players are going to be confused. He doesn't get along with other coaches on the staff, but no one's listening to me. That's all right. That's all right. You ever see the guy on Facebook who is a Buckeye fan? Whenever he talks about the team up north, he calls them the Mustards. I have not seen him. Colonel Mustards, huh? That's funny. I can appreciate that. I can appreciate that, man. Absolutely. I like a good jab at I like a good jab at the team up north every once in a while, man. You know that. All right, let's keep going with some more Buckeye news, shall we? We got one more piece of one more news, and then um, we're gonna dive into the Kenny Dillingham news. So, Bryson Rogers is going to be entering the portal. We talked about this yesterday a little bit as well. Um, Considered the fourth receiver on the team right now. Made one start, ended up with 6 receptions, less than 100 yards, 1 touchdown so far this year. He's going to be going portaling. I think this is a good sign for those of you who are asking about what's the status for um, Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham. I think this news tells you everything you probably need to know. They're going to be competing for that third receiver starting position alongside of Chris Henry Jr. next year. I think those 3 are the 3 who are going to get the opportunity to compete to take Carnell Tate's starting position. I anticipate Brandon Ennis being back next year in the slot, and of course, we've got one more year with Jeremiah Smith. And of course, you want to see Ohio State develop some depth at that position because it seemed like we just didn't have a ton of depth this year when Carnell and Jeremiah were off the field, man. It became a tight end show. And I'm not talking about goal line offense against Indiana. When those 2 guys weren't playing, man, it was the tight ends along with Brandon Ennis were our targets offensively. So we need to develop some more depth at the wide receiver position. Speaking of wide receiver, we did have at least some grumbling of there being an interview for a wide receiver coach. I do not expect the wide receiver coach to also be the OC. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be bringing in a wide receiver coach to replace Brian Hartline, or they're going to be using somebody within, like Keenan Bailey, possibly taking over tight ends and wide receiver, or taking over wide receiver and the offensive line coaching staff takes over tight ends as well. There could be some play around with that. But I think that the main focus will be on OC first. So I think they're just taking some interviews, gathering some intel and data, and then when Ryan Day's ready, he's going to be hiring an OC to that he trusts to call plays. That is going to be the biggest thing here, man. Ryan Day has made that perfectly known for the last couple years. He's not just going to hire somebody to fill the position. It has to be somebody he trusts to call plays. And that list is very small. And so, you know, Kevin Wilson, Chip Kelly, the first two guys that come to mind who he might trust, who he has experience with. Their availability right now, those are why you're hearing some of those names. He might go the NFL route. The Matt Patricia thing has worked out so well this year for him. I can see him saying, I'm going to go back to the NFL well again. And let's see what happens with that in the offense, because he's just not going to turn over play calling to someone with no experience again. He's going to bring in somebody he trusts, and then maybe he works with someone on staff to groom them to eventually be the OC, very similar to what they did with Chip Kelly and Brian Hartline. As for Bryson Rodgers, he's originally from Tampa, Florida, which is the home of USF. I could see him continuing his development with Brian Hartline, going down to USF. Like I said in yesterday's show, he's going to know Brian Hartline's how he coaches, what he likes, what he's looking for, probably the offense that Brian Hartline's probably going to want to run. He's going to have a leg up over anybody who might be there already. I think that makes perfect sense for him to go back home, become a USF Bull, and continue his development with Brian Hartline. And wouldn't that be another feather in the cap of Brian Hartline if Bryson Rodgers becomes an NFL wide receiver? Hey, man, you weren't even on the field at Ohio State. You follow your coach to USF. You become an NFL draft pick here. Just another feather in the cap when it comes to wide receiver development for Brian Hartline. All right, give me a second. We're going to take a quick 30-second commercial. I'm going to get myself a drink, and we'll be right back with the breaking news of Kenny Dillingham not going to the team up north. We have new merch just in time for the most wonderful time of the year. Get your OHIO podcast t-shirts, hoodies, and hats, and more thanks to our partnership with King Kong Bart and his printing company in Bucyrus, Ohio. That's right. You can now rest assured that when you purchase merchandise from the OHIO podcast, it is being printed and shipped right here from the Buckeye State. And even better than that, you can financially support your favorite hosts. For instance, if you want to support Mika, you can do so by purchasing her Illuminati merch. 50% of all profits will be shared with each host upon payments. Get your new OHIO pod merch by clicking on the link below this video, the link provided on our YouTube channel, or by visiting our website at theohiopodcast.com. Just click on the store link and it'll take you straight to our new online store. So what are you waiting on? Help support your favorite Ohio State podcast, your favorite hosts, and share your Buckeye pride all year round. OH! I just realized I'm not wearing the same t-shirt, but I'm wearing the same color t-shirt and hat as that commercial. My beard's a little thicker. Mac Davis. Ryan Day has earned my trust with any decision he makes. He hasn't failed me yet. I agree 100% with that. Absolutely. Sage, Alabama winning last night killed any Michigan chances of getting Caleb DeBoer. We will talk about that at the we're going to talk about that next, actually. So, so it's going to be a lot of fun to dive into this. So let's get into it, okay? This is from some breaking news from Pete Thamel, everybody. This was about an hour and a half ago. He broke this, I believe it was. Per an Arizona State source, as the deal is focused on program resources, we have the perfect coach for ASU. This is a quote. We have a perfect coach for ASU. We want to give him the tools to do his job the best way possible. That's giving him resources to put into the staff and program and giving him longevity. And of course, this was a retweet from 2 minutes before when he said Kenny Dillingham has signed a new contract at Arizona State, which will average $7.5 million over the course of the deal. The staff salary pool is up to $11 million, which puts it near the top of the Big 12. So right away, you're going to have Michigan fans say the following: we can still buy him out. We have more money. This was never about money. This was never about money with Kenny Dillingham. All right. He let it be known weeks ago he did not want to leave Arizona. He did not want to leave his alma mater. Dude was asked about, how special is it to be the head coach at Arizona State? And it brought him to tears talking about it. He obviously didn't want to leave there. This was his agent getting him some more money. And as you can see, based off Pete Thamel's reporting, this was all about Kenny Dillingham trying to convince the athletic department to invest more in the program he's building. That's what this always has been for him. I want to be a winner. I want the school to win. I want the players to win. We need to invest more and we need more resources to invest more in our program, our facility, and in these players and in the coaching staff. You've heard Ryan Day talk about this, man. The longevity of coaches, the ability to keep coaches in-house is the most important, one of the most important things to recruits. And so if he's going to compete against Texas Tech, he has to have at least comparable resources to make it worth a fight for Arizona State to keep trying to combat what they're doing in Lubbock, Texas. That's what this was from day one. He talked about this months ago when he complained. It may have even been in the offseason, actually. He complained about how the facilities needed upgraded. They needed attention. And he needed the athletic department to be willing to invest in him and this facility and in this program. I believe it was the offseason when he met with the media. It might have even been spring. And he complained about that. That's what all of this was. And to think for a moment that those fans in Ann Arbor thought that they had this guy in the bag, it's absolutely hilarious to me. We were talking about this weeks ago, man. And I said it then, and I was on JR's podcast and I said it. He asked me to go from 1 to 5, 5 being the scariest as a Buckeye fan, who the scariest guy would be if Michigan were to get him. He's the only one I put at 5, if I'm not mistaken. He was either him or one of two. JR gave me a list of 10 coaches to rank 1 through 5 on the scare meter. He was number 5 for me. I believe Kenny Dillingham, and you guys feel free to put your thoughts about him in the comment section below. I'd love to see what all of you are thinking. 121 of you watching on YouTube right now. Make sure you hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. He's the best young Division I Power 4 football coach coming up right now. He's number 1 on my list. Number 1. Dan Lanning is number 2. He is number 1. I like him more than Dan Lanning because I like him as a person more, if that makes sense. Do I think Dan Lanning is a better coach? Maybe. I think I would give the nod to Dan Lanning. But I think Kenny Dillingham, if I was a GM, he would be one of, next to Ryan Day, one of the first guys I would want to hire. And so, of course, I didn't want him to go to my rival. I did not want him heading to Michigan. Mr. Bucknut, Dan Lanning is not leaving Oregon. That's not what I meant. I'm just saying Dan Lanning probably a little bit better of a coach, a little bit more experience than Kenny Dillingham when it comes to the young coaches, ranking the young coaches. Um, and if in a world where as GM you can interview any coach, I would just say those would be two of the guys I would interview. Obviously, I don't think he's leaving Oregon. Phil Knight money is spins very well. Let's just put it that way, right? Spins very well. Farah, good to see you this morning. I hope the sheep are doing well. I find it funny they think someone has to lose their job to get a coach to take that job. Talking about Michigan and Caleb DeBoer, right? No kidding. Mean Green, Podfather, in all seriousness aside, what coach in their right mind would want to get in the middle of that mess in Ann Arbor? You have to think that when a coach sits down and analyzes that job, he says to himself, is it worth it? Because they're going to pay. They're going to be willing to pay. I guarantee the $7.5 million he just got, Michigan's probably closer to 11 to 12 for him. I guarantee it. But yet he took 7.5. So what's that tell you? That tells you you're right. You're on the right track, Mean Green. So you're saying Dillingham is a little wet behind the ears? A little bit. He's still young, but he's been very successful. RDCB, next best thing that can happen, they don't hire anyone before January. They lose the bowl game, and then portal chaos happens. Exactly, dude. Sage, Brian Kelly needs a job. Wouldn't that just be interesting bedfellows, to say the least, right? That would be absolute interesting. You would watch Ohio State fans and Notre Dame fans laugh hysterically, and I think you would watch at least half of the Michigan fan base hate it, and the other half somehow try to swing it into a positive that Brian Kelly is actually a good hire if they were to go that route. But I don't think they will. Colonel Ingus says M would be better off keeping Biff a year while they clean house. That has been what I have been saying. Exactly. They've got Biff. Now, I'm just going to be completely honest with you. Two things. Number one, when Biff was the head coach for those two games, that Sharon Moore was suspended and then spending his time on OnlyFans, Michigan played better under Biff. They did. That is, you can watch those games. They play much better under Biff. They looked like a competent offense. I've been saying the whole time they should take Ohio State 2011 vibes and go Biff for a year and let him calm the seas. Let him try to make sure that he keeps the players there he can. And they spend a year waiting for the next big guy to become available. That's what I would suggest to them. But what do I know, right? It worked for Ohio State. I imagine it might work for Michigan. And plus, the further you get away from Jim Harbaugh, Sharon Moore, any of those people who were on that Jim Harbaugh's coaching tree and staff, the further you get away from that, the shorter people's memories get in the coaching circle. It's going to help them get a bigger name. So I'm in agreement with you, man. Butter Knife Bandit in the house. That's got to be one of our DCB's characters. Michigan fans are down bad. Oh, are they ever? You guys want a laugh? Go to our social media sites, Facebook, Twitter. Go to yesterday's post when Knoxville Nate, we did a little short for Knoxville Nate where he's talking about the tunnel incident that was reported to happen after the game at at the big house with Ohio State, and read the comments from the Michigan fans. Majority of them are Michigan fans, and it is absolutely hysterical to watch them try and spin things, man. I'm going to be doing a video eventually. I'm working on it right now. The 5 dumbest things Michigan fans say. I'm going to be doing a video on that because it is absolute. They are like dodo birds. Do you guys remember? Was it Ice Age? The dodo birds. Um, what was it that they were always saying? Here, here, here. Like what was it when they? What was it? They were all repeating each other. That's essentially what their fan base does, dude. They just repeat the same comebacks everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you go, you post anything about Michigan, and they just repeat the same stupid comebacks over and over and over again, like those stupid little dodo birds. Um, see if anybody in the chat knows what they say. I haven't seen it yet. I forget what they're saying in that movie. It's funny though. Um, those 2 games more didn't help his obsessive problem. I wonder how many DMs he slid in those 2 off weeks. There's a question the media should ask. That would be funny. Good to see Lisa this morning. Good to see you. Mr. Bucknut says, glad I didn't put money on Oklahoma. I was going to. We'll get to that in just a minute. What's up, Mr. Lance? Good to see you this morning as well. Christopher Wilds in the chat. Sharon Moore was only worried about one tunnel. Can't believe I started reading that, you son of a gun. Yeah, but they have a great culture, Colonel Ingus. Yeah, exactly. Snitches get stitches. 100%, dude. 100%. Hey, Bart, what's in the house, man? Good to see you here. And oh, look who just slid in right after him. It's King Kong Bartovich. Mr. Lance, what else do they have, Eric? Really can't defend their stance, so they spew nonsense. Exactly. When you, I have I think this is so true. You guys tell me what you think. I think this is so true. When you've lost the debate, and you know you've lost the debate, the first thing people with lower intelligence do when they've lost the debate is they try to put you down, whether it's your image, the way you look, the way you dress, the way you act, um, how much money they perceive you to have or don't have. That's the first thing they do when they've lost an argument. That's people of lower intelligence. You go and you read the timeline of these people, right? It's all about making fun of us. It's all about, you know, the fact that I'm not skinny or built like Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. Like, and I know the majority of them who are making fun of me for things like that have the same. They probably even are uglier than I am, man. But yet they've lost the argument and they've got nothing else but to do that. So it's it's a defense mechanism of humankind to do that, man. So yeah, there you go. I'm going to be doing that video. We'll see if we can get around to it today, but it's absolutely hysterical. Kenny Dillingham says no, thank you. That's essentially what this is. Kenny Dillingham says no, thank you. I'll take less money, stay at home, live in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, with my beautiful family in the sunshine year round, building a program that I can be proud of and sustainable at my alma mater. He says no thank you to Michigan. Then on the flip side of that, the other name that continues to be brought up by Michigan podcasters, social media, quote unquote, Michigan followers, gurus, is Caleb DeBoer. And there was a lot of people saying yesterday, if Caleb DeBoer loses in Norman against Oklahoma, he would be the next head coach at the University of Dum. But here he is, going into Norman, Oklahoma, winning that football game and representing the SEC in the second round of the college football playoff in the Rose Bowl against Indiana. We're going to get into that in just 1 second. Jim says, heard they interviewed Kyle Whittingham, who resigned from Utah. They held a Skype interview a couple days ago. There was some interest on both sides. He has no ties to Michigan. That is also the other name you're hearing them say. You are correct, Jim. I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's a stopgap. I feel like Kyle Whittingham is, hey, you're pretty good and you could put the fingers in the holes in the dam and stop the hopefully stop players from leaving, stop recruits from leaving. You can hopefully kind of calm this down and maybe coach here for 2 to 3 years, and then we maybe develop or get ready for the next coach at the university. He's not a long-term solution. I believe he is in his 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Let me look real fast. There he is. Kyle Whittingham is, the consensus says, apparently he doesn't have his age on Wikipedia. It's a mystery. Born 1959. Oh gosh, now I got to do math because it's not going to do it for me. 66. Kyle Whittingham is 66 years old. 3-4 years tops, right? 3-4 years tops. Charles, what's the latest news on Ohio State's coaching staff? Already talked about it. You'll have to go back to the beginning of the show. So he's a stopgap. That's all he would be. It's not a long-term solution. It's not even really a fix, right? It's just a stop the bleeding, please. Help us, please. Is it any better than Biff? I'm just asking the question. He's not a Michigan man, quote unquote, although that term has been completely spoiled. He has no ties to the university, no Big Ten experience. What will that be for them? Is it any better than them saying, Biff, we're going to give you 2026. You get the whole season next year while we look for our guy, right? I'm just asking. I think sometimes we get distracted by the shiny new toy. Maybe that's what's going on here with Michigan is they see Whittingham. They're like, oh, he had great success at Utah. Yeah, in the Big 12, right? In the Pac-12. And and look at what's happened to him the last 3 years at Utah. That program is just falling off the cliff, man. They're not even close to Texas Tech, Arizona State when it comes to how good of a program they are long term and recently. I don't think it's a great hire. As an Ohio State fan, it doesn't scare me. It doesn't. Does it scare you? Does it scare any of you if Whittingham is the hire? Doesn't me. Colonel Angus with some great comments this morning. The search committee has to be asking what coach had hit rock bottom. We may have a chance. Butterknife Bandit. Gosh, that's such a great name. If I'm Underwood, I leave. He's wasted another year in 2026 if he stays. It's a great point. Speaking of players in the portal, right? Speaking of players in the portal, if Underwood goes, where would he go? A lot of people talking about LSU, right? Lane Kiffin. I mean, that would definitely be a splash. No doubt about that. You're definitely going to get a splashier guy. To me, that doesn't make sense, but maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe I can be talked into it, if that's the case. But I'm trying to pull up a graphic. Here it is. Here it is. This is what I wanted to show you guys. There we go. This is the current quarterbacks, the top 10 current quarterbacks in the transfer portal already. Sam Levitt from Arizona State, Drew Messmaker, who has 3 years of eligibility remaining. He was only a freshman this year, North Texas. Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, Dylan Raiola from Nebraska, Josh Hoover from TCU. Lot of smoke about Hoover going to Indiana. Had a big year passing at TCU. DJ Lagway from Florida. Uh, Kenny Mitchney. I think that's how that's pronounced. Mickney, maybe. Don't know much about him. Maybe I should. Aiden Childs from Michigan State. Bo Prabula from Missouri. Watch out for Bo going to Michigan State. That is a Bo Prabula. Does he not just scream Pat Fitzgerald quarterback? Hard nose, lower my head, refuse the slide. Like, to me, that is a perfect match for Michigan State and what Pat Fitzgerald wants to do. And a Hauser from, I believe that's East Carolina. Don't know much about the Pirates quarterback there. But those are the quarterback names being thrown out right now. Bubba Games says wherever he goes would be better than the team up north. He's being underdeveloped there. He needs a QB coach more than a head coach. 100% agree with you. Chris says of all the quarterback or of all the portal quarterbacks, give me Sorsby. Ooh, okay. Which quarterback is your favorite on this list? Come on, you know you love Dylan Raiola. Come on. I like Bo Prabula. I do. He was having a really good year too until he got hurt. Sam Levitt had great success previously. Not a great year till he got hurt this year again. Drew Messmaker is interesting, but he did it at a lower level. But man, he has great stats. We watched him one Friday night over on Patreon on our Friday night hangout. Watched North Texas and who'd they play? Tulane, maybe? No, it was USF. It was South Florida. And Drew Messmaker, man, he's a gunslinger, dude. Bart, are you going to have a game watch for the Miami game and basketball game today? So what we're going to do is we're going to jump on early before the basketball game. We're going to watch the end of the Miami Texas A&M game over on Patreon if it's close, and then we'll switch over to the basketball game as soon as it's over. That's the plan. So sometime in the second half of that football game, we'll probably start a game watch. Yes, Bart. I'll send you the link, buddy. Jim says, who do you think Indiana goes after? Well, I think that Brendan Sorsby reminds me of kind of what he likes to do a little bit, but I'm hearing Josh Hoover is definitely the name that Indiana, and according to Hoover, they're going to be going after. Levitt fits perfectly at Indiana, you say, and then he says Sorsby is a beast too. So those are some of the names, man, in the quarterback in the portal right now. All right, here are the teams that decline to go to a bowl game. 10 schools this year said no thanks to extra practice. They said no thanks to young player development. No thanks to a vacation. They just said we're going to take our ball and go home, spend vacation, Christmas vacation with our family. Notre Dame, K-State, Iowa State, although Iowa State might be because they lost their coaching staff and the players. Baylor, Rutgers, Florida State, Auburn, Temple, UCF, Kansas. Two things I want to talk about with this. Number one, this was brought up in the chat the other day. It was an interesting conversation. Should schools be fined by the NCAA for rejecting a bid to play in the bowl game? It was split down the middle, according to the people in the chat, who they felt, whether they felt it should be something that should happen or not. I know this much. Bowl season is never coming back. Bowl season is dying a very cruel death right now. Bowl season has terminal cancer, folks. It's sad. You're watching your loved one named Bowl season taking all this medication and chemotherapy, and they're sick as could be, and the doctors told you there's not much time left. Might be 2 weeks, might be 2 months, right? Bowl season might be 2 years, might be 12 years, but it ain't coming back. It's going the way of past tense, man. And what we all need to buckle up and prepare for, and I don't like it, man. I don't like it one bit. Dude, I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Bucknuts. Prayers for your brother, man, and for your family and for you. What we need to prepare for is playoff expansion. I don't like it. I don't want to hear it. I think sometimes less is more. I think 8 is perfect. In all honesty, I think 8 is the perfect number. I would even be a component of saying 6 or 7 and going the way of the NFL playoffs. But that's not going to happen. We're going to get more. We're going to get more teams in the playoffs because it's the only answer that college football has for a postseason at this point. Both seasons are done. And that saddens me because Colonel Ingus, don't most schools lose money on bowl games? For Akron to go to the Shreveport Bowl, they must eat the cost of so many tickets. I guess it depends on the bowl, right? I guess it would depend on the bowl. So here's an idea. Do we go with the way of the NIT tournament? Let me ask you a question. How many of you watch the NIT basketball tournament? Unless Ohio State's playing in it, I don't watch it. I don't think anybody else watches it. You can look at those crowds if you turn it on television. Even the fans, when they have home games, they ain't watching it either. They ain't going. I don't think the NIT tournament is a good idea at all, and nor do I think college football is going to go that way. Here's my idea for fixing bowl games. All right? And you got to step out of the box to think this way, okay? We move bowl season to week 0. If you make it to a bowl, and by the way, there probably should be less bowls. If you make it to a bowl, it is your game 1 next season, week 0. Neutral site game, bowl game. You can move bowls now to northern climate cities. So the Pinstripe Bowl won't be 30 degrees or 20 degrees and snowing. The Pinstripe Bowl will be 80 degrees now. You can play bowl games in cities like Detroit, although you can already because they have a dome. Cleveland could get a bowl game, right? You could play bowl games, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl with the blue turf over there where Boise State plays. Guess what? It's beautiful that time of year. 78 degrees, 82 degrees, sunny. It changes the whole dynamic of what bowl season could be. It literally would be a celebration of college football is back in week 0. And you play 4 or 5 games Monday through Saturday. Shoot, Sunday, whatever. Like you play those games like they do bowls now during the day. And I guarantee you, college football fans will be more jacked about bowl season being at week 0. And here's the thing, the games would count. It's your first game of the year. It's a big game. Well, Eric, they already have 12-game schedules. There's teams playing 13 already. If you play Hawaii in a non-conference game, you get an additional 13th regular season game already. So there's already schools doing that. It's not fair and equal. College football is not fair and equal. What are we talking about? Of course it's not. You won the right to be in a bowl game. Go play the bowl game. Week 0. The fans would love it. You don't think Notre Dame would be more excited about playing BYU in week 0 than they would in a glorified exhibition game? I guarantee they would. It's the first game of the year. It would be a massive game. Huge game next year. Eric, it's not the same players. Players are opting out already. They're already opting out. They're not going to opt out in game number 1 in week 0. It's a huge game. So I think every excuse I've heard as to why week 0 would not be good for bowl week, I've developed an answer for already. How about this? I'm not a NASCAR fan, but doesn't NASCAR have their biggest race number 1 of the year? Right? Isn't that what they do in the Daytona 500? Why can't college football kind of adapt that a little bit with bowl season in week 0? I think it makes great sense. I think you could have less if you want. That's fine. I think it would be a heck of a lot of fun, dude. Sign me up. Players often opt out bowl games before the draft. Exactly. This is week 0. This is the next season. So they're like trying to, this would be more film for the draft, I guess you could make an argument for. What about players who are out of eligibility? Yeah, they don't get to play in the game. It's for the next year. Well, they earn the right to go in that bowl game. They already don't want to play in a bowl game. Look at them. They're opting out. The schools are opting out. So who cares about that? Congratulations. You didn't make the college football playoff, but next year you get to play in the bowl game. And how many of those rosters come back? 50% or more? Those kids were on that team. I think over time it would make sense. It would get more run. Bart says it is very selfish to decline a bowl game. The players lose practice time and more exposure for the NFL. True. TG, most of the schools that are declining their bowl games, allowing a lot of players to the portal so they don't have enough to play in the games, except for Notre Dame. I get that. But we have 1, 2, 3, half of the teams playing today with coaches who are already hired at other schools, right? JMU, Tulane, right? Summerall and JMU's coach went to UCLA. Can't remember his last name. It'll come to me. They're already gone. Oregon lost their offensive and defensive coordinators to Kentucky and Cal. They're still coaching. They're like Brian Hartline, but they're gone. So you lost that one. Ole Miss lost Lane Kiffin. He gone. So there's 3 head coaches and 6 of the teams playing today who are either not there or are head coaches of other teams. So it's already affecting the CFP. which is insane to me. How would this week 0 model affect the season's schedule? If it doesn't affect schedule, it's definitely going to affect the perception of the team. Absolutely. Don't we want more data? Right? Like the whole argument between Notre Dame and Miami hinged on the fact that you had a 13th game with Alabama. Wouldn't Notre Dame have more of an argument if they went 11-2 and they beat BYU? That's another data point, right? It's another win. It's another game. Hey, we went 11-2, you went 10-3. Apples to apples. So again, I love this argument. And I thank you for pushing back on me, guys, even if you're not really pushing back on me. I think it's great. Mr. Bucknut, nothing we can do about the bowl games. This is the only answer I got, man. I'm a traditionalist. I love bowl season. I will sit down and I will watch the world famous Idaho Potato Bowl. I will watch that crap. I will inject that into my veins because I know college football is almost done and I want to consume as much of it as I possibly can until late August. And so I will sit down in December and I will watch the No One Gives a Crap Bowl. I will watch that because I love college football, but think about how much more important that game is if it counts to your record next year. I'm trying to convince you guys. He said, I meant to say, Trent says, I meant to say record, not schedule. How would this week 0 model affect that season's record? If it doesn't affect the schedule, it's definitely going to affect the perception of the team. Yeah, it should affect the record. If the game counts, count it, baby. Right? You have all these coaches, especially in the G5. You have all these coaches say, we'll play anybody, anywhere. Prove it. Let's do it. Let's go week 0. Let's make week 0 bowl season. Let's go. I mean, you're already playing a glorified bowl game when two teams go overseas to Dublin, Ireland, or Germany to play, that week 0 game. Notre Dame's done it. Kansas State and Iowa State did it last year. I think it was the year before. It was Notre Dame and Navy. Let's play bowl games week 0. Let's make it happen. All right. Let's get into last night's game and get into today's games, and we'll call it a day. Holy cow, Oklahoma. You made me look stupid. But for the first 20 minutes of that football game, you made me look like a genius. I, over on the College Huddle, made a video. 3 reasons why Oklahoma can beat Alabama, despite the fact it's the second time they've played them this year, and it was the third time they played them in less than 20 games. And they had beat them 2 times before. Number 1, home field advantage at night, first round of the playoffs. I compared this to Ohio State, Tennessee last year, and despite the fact that Tennessee had anywhere from 35 to 40% of the crowd, that Ohio State crowd in the shoe last year was absolutely lit. Absolutely lit. And I felt Oklahoma was going to get anywhere from 80 to 90% or more of that crowd. Being it was the first home playoff game in the history of Oklahoma at Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma. And I think that indeed is what it was. And you jump out to a 17-0 lead. I said they were going to absolutely rule the line of scrimmage on defense. And for the first 20 minutes, again, that's exactly what they did. Alabama had no time to throw the football. They couldn't run the football. By the way, they couldn't run the football all night. They had no answers. There's nothing they could do in those first 20 minutes. And then number 3 was Oklahoma has already been in playoff mode for the last 4 games. They were 6-2. They were 6-2, and they ran off 4 consecutive wins to become eligible for the college football playoff, including at Tennessee, at Alabama, home against Missouri, home against LSU. I know LSU had a bad year, and I know Missouri didn't win any big games, but you play those 4 teams in a row and you beat those 4 teams in a row, 4 consecutive games in a row, you deserve the college football playoff, in my opinion. Again, at Tennessee, at Alabama, home against Missouri, home against LSU. They were 6-2. They ended up 10-2. They've been in playoff mode for four games already. That was my thinking. And for the first 20 minutes, Oklahoma was dominating that game. Then they give up a field goal. All right? It's just a field goal. You're still up 2 scores, 17-3. And I remember saying last night on Patreon when we were watching on the Friday night hangout, if Oklahoma scores again, they win this football game. There's no way Alabama's going to be able to come back. Third down, they don't convert it. They got a punt at midfield. Punter takes the snap, gets ready to kick, and literally just drops the ball in front of him. It's like his brain froze. He went, what am I doing here? How did I get here? What am I supposed to do? Literally, his brain froze. He drops the football. His leg stops mid-kick and just drops the ball on the field. And turnover, short field, Bama goes and scores, makes it 17-10. Oklahoma gets the ball back again. All right, now we're only up 7. We need to, terrible mistake by special teams. We need to answer. Mateer has a complete brain fart himself, and whether it was a mix-up on the play call, or I don't know, but the receiver keeps running down the field. He throws like the receiver was going to stop. The defensive back is standing there like, oh my gosh, you just threw me the ball for no reason at all. Takes off running, pick 6, 17-17 like that. And all the momentum Oklahoma had built in the first 20 minutes was gone. Gone. Alabama goes on to score 17 more points and wins 34-24, 34-7 run after Oklahoma goes up 17-0. Not to mention the nation's number 1 kicker misses not 1 but 2 field goals, and the first one is controversial because it looked like it might have been good and they called it no good. Crazy game. Alabama wins the nightcap on the road. Let's fast forward to the Rose Bowl in 9 days, I think it is. You have Indiana and you have Alabama. If Alabama can't run the football, and boy, they could not run the football against Oklahoma, Indiana defensively is going to scheme things up to stop that passing attack. And if they get pressure on the quarterback from Alabama, Ty Simpson, like Oklahoma did last night, like they did against Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, that being Indiana, Hoosiers are going to win this game by 2 scores at least. At least. Indiana is not going to make bonehead mistakes like Oklahoma did. They're not going to have brain farts where they just drop the ball on punts and they throw the ball to the other team, almost looks like on purpose. So that's my take on that game last night. I was disappointed for Oklahoma. I thought Oklahoma was going to win that football game. They did not. So there you go. All right, let's look up the spreads for today's games here real quick before we call it a day. 12 o'clock noon, so in 47 minutes. Miami, Texas A&M. Texas A&M getting -4 is how it opened. It's currently at -2, so they've lost a point and a half. A&M getting -2 at home. I'm going to go ahead and say A&M's going to win this game by 3 or more. So I guess I will take those points and run with it and say the Aggies cover. Then we have Montana versus Montana State, and that's a good one. If you like Division One AA was what we used to call it. The instead of what is it? I don't remember. I'm just gonna move on. But anyways, that's a good one today. Also, Illinois State and Villanova play in the Final Four. Tulane Green Wave and Ole Miss. Ole Miss opened up at 16 and a half. They're now at 17 and a half. They crushed Tulane earlier in the season. They're without Lane Kiffin, same offensive coaching staff, but that offensive coaching staff is moving on to LSU. How motivated are they? Ole Miss defensively is very good. I think Tulane's going to have struggle scoring the football. I think Ole Miss wins. 17 and a half seems kind of high. It's going to be somewhere around that. I don't feel comfortable with that one. James Madison and Oregon. Oregon opened up at 21 and a half, minus 21 and a half. It's been moved down to 20 and a half. Apparently there's going to be some bad weather today in Oregon. So it might be a rainy game tonight. 7:30 p.m. kick at 4:30 local time for them. If it's bad weather, 20 and a half is quite a bit. I think that's why the numbers come down by a point. But Oregon is so much better than James Madison. If I had to make a bet, I would say probably Ducks cover. So if I was going to do a trifecta today, I would say Aggies cover, or Aggies, take Aggies in the points, Ducks in the points, lay the points with Ole Miss, and take Tulane with the under on that one. That's what I would say. But I don't know, guys. I'm not a big betting guy, so take it for what it is. All right, guys. Man, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for hanging out with us. Feel free to make fun of the fans up north when it comes to Kenny Dillingham. Good decision by Kenny Dillingham. If you live in the state up north and you hear sirens, they're all heading to Ann Arbor. The place is on fire today. And I'm like that little girl in the meme who's smiling with the fire in the background. That's how I feel today. That's how I feel today. We'll be doing some videos over on the College Huddle today. Go make sure you go check that out. Also, we'll be doing maybe a video later on today. Let's see if I can get around to it. The 5 things Michigan fans all say. It's ridiculous. It's funny. We're going to make fun of them today. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy the college football. It gets kicked off here in 44 minutes. Thank you for joining us. Smash that like button on the way out. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern. We have our roundtable discussion show. And if you're not a part of Patreon, consider being a part of Patreon. It only costs $5 a month to hang out, watch the games with us. We'll be doing so at the end of the A&M Miami game, going right into Ohio State basketball as they play North Carolina today. Take care. God bless. Have a great day. Go Bucks!